Welcome everyone to our summer camp headquarters webinar. My name is Dorla Aparicio, and I am a group piano teacher in Cleburne, Texas. And of course, I love doing piano camp. So let me just tell you what we have planned for you today. On our agenda, first, Leela will be talking about the why of piano camps. Then we'll have a short 5 question and answer session about what she just presented. And then after that, I will go through the handbook that we have prepared for you.
Yes. Okay, good. And I'm going to share my screen in just a minute. Thank you all for coming. This is exciting. Dorla threw out this idea to me like, oh, okay, yeah, let's do that. And now today is 48 degrees and raining here in Denver. So I am not in a very summery mood. So this is going to put me in a summer mood right now. So I want to explain the why of considering a summer camp in your studio. And as I was going through my whys, I decided, you know what, I'm just going to make a series of slides because then you can kind of see what I've done in the past just through some snapshots. So I'm going to share my screen here. And then I'm going to just make sure that everyone can see what I'm doing here. So I'm assuming that everyone can see my slides and they're nice and big. Yes. Okay. Very good. So I'm going to talk about the benefits of having a summer camp. And what I mean are benefits for you specifically. First of all, I believe they are more fun. Now, yes, teaching is fun, don't get me wrong, but I am in, a burnout stage here in May. Perhaps you are as well, where we've been doing the same thing for a long time. We've been prepping our students for festivals and recitals and all that kind of stuff. And so I would describe myself as being burnt out. I'm kind of tired of doing that. I want to do something different. And that's what triggered this idea of having a summer camp for me years ago. And this was before Pinterest. This was before I knew anybody online. This was just like, you know what? I have so many games in my closet. I think I'm going to play games with my students during the summer. So that's how the idea came to me. And I do believe when you have these opportunities to hold camps, there's something about it that just makes you a little bit more creative. You just really have to think through how you're going to plan these camps. And in the end, I kind of surprised myself like, wow, I just came up with all that. Now, of course, we have lots of ideas coming in from other people, but it's really neat to see them come together. And of course, this does give you less teaching time because you are teaching more than one student. And now Dorla is used to doing that. I am to a certain extent, but I mostly teach privately or partner lessons. And so when I can have 4 in a room with me, which that's usually what I hold it down to, 4 or 5, then I feel like then I can consolidate my teaching time, which means then I can also make more income in less time. And this is a great time to reinforce all those gaps in learning. You know, like how some students like, oh man, they still don't understand the line versus space notes, or they can't see intervals very well. This is the time to really jump in and dig in and figure out ways for students to know those kind of concepts for good so that when they come back in the fall, they're feeling more confident. Maybe they lack just a little bit of confidence because they forget a few things, but they can build upon what you did during the summer. And then there's also more time for 4 stages of learning that I think we often forget about. A long time ago, I read this, I think it was a podcast. I don't know. I read an article, listened to a podcast that talked about 7 stages of learning. And they are engagement, exploration, explanation, application, evaluation, reflection, and extension. And I feel like during our normal teaching time, we are usually focusing in on explanation, application, and evaluation. Maybe some of the other things, but a lot of times we are not just thinking about, oh, how can I engage this student and be fun? Well, most of the time, I think, if you're a teacher and you've got students, you are engaging. But how do we extend their learning? And how do we help them reflect on what they've learned and put it into action? And then extending it, and that extending could be, well, they've learned about chords. Now, can you improvise with them? Those kind of things. So that's what I think are the benefits to you for a summer camp. So what are the benefits then for your students? Well, for students, for number one, it's just more fun because they're going to most likely be with other kids. And you know what happens when you get kids in the mix, they're going to have fun. And it's just interesting how the little guy pointing at the beats right there with a little pointer, he is a very shy young man. And you can tell that the other man is not whatsoever. And so we were just having a ball and laughing and giggling. And then obviously there's less practice involved in a summer camp. I just don't hold them to the same accountability as if they're taking private lessons. I may have them try and do some things between camp days, but it's definitely less practice. And then it's an opportunity to develop curiosity. And, I think that's when you can like what Dorla is doing in her camps where she combines science and music. I just think that's such a great time for them to be thinking about, oh, hey, my piano lessons relate to what I'm doing in school. And then, of course, make new friends, which I mentioned, and then it makes things stick because we are using a lot of concrete tools and games to help students remember things, hopefully, for a lifetime. All right, so then choosing a theme. I think themes are really important because they determine what you are going to have as outcomes. And so, first of all, you can go broad with your themes. For instance, I would say a Baroque period theme is quite broad because you could focus on so many things. It's still kind of narrow because it's not talking about the classical period or whatever, but you can have, have your students play a harpsichord sound on your keyboard or maybe visit a place where there's an organ. Of course, you can make toilet paper wigs, which are actually called perukes, and you can talk about why they wore perukes during that time. There's so many things that you can do just with a time period. And I have a resource called Go Baroque that I go crazy over Baroque and give all kinds of ideas. And then one summer I went really deep. I took a deep dive into the pentatonic scale. Really, honestly, I didn't know what to do. I was kind of out of ideas. And Bradley Sowash has this tune called, let's see, Don't Eat Green Bugs is what it's called. And it's a pentatonic tune. And so I did all kinds of crazy things with the pentatonic scale. And we did lead sheet work. And so it was a camp about bugs. And these gals were so creative. They helped me have so much fun with it. So if you think it's all about all of your ideas, it's really not. Your campers will give you ideas if you are falling short. So again, once you have a theme that can determine your outcomes, your takeaways, and that's an important thing to tell your parents is, look, they're going to come to this camp and they will learn what a harpsichord is, the main of the Baroque period. They will play in that style, or at least sound like that. Maybe they'll add ornaments to their music, anything like that. That's going to sell the parents if you are excited about it, number one, and also you're telling your parents exactly what they're going to learn. And it will also keep you accountable. Now, one of the safest things that I think that you can do in a summer is have piano Olympics. And that's what I started with is, hey, let's just play games. And these games can be versatile. You can take old games that you have in your closet, Candyland, whatever, and turn them into something, or, dream up something with, I got this felt dartboard. And what happens is when you play games, people get excited and they're having fun and they want to come back for more. And of course, they're learning at the same time. You can choose any concepts you want to. So Piano Olympics is probably one of the most versatile camps that you could hold. Then another one is just having a beginner prep camp. I call it exploring music, but getting your students to know, okay, the alphabet A through G, up and down, backwards and forwards, all those kind of good things, key names, black and white keys, basically all the opposites in music, high, low, loud, soft, up, down, all those kind of things. That could be great topics for a camp for beginners. And then basically they could feed right into your studio. Ensemble playing, playing with others is going to result in listening to each other. And one of the favorite things that I like to do with ensembles is divide and conquer, especially if you have multi-levels, is, one person is going to take the bass line, one hand's going to be playing the chords, one hand's going to be playing the melody. I do that a lot with lead sheets. So that's a fun thing to do with a group of students for camp. And then rhythm, probably my all-time favorite thing to do is to have students explore rhythm in a camp setting, because rhythm is one of those things, there's so many variables to it. Pitches, yes, it's always going to be a G on that second line, but you never know what kind of rhythm you're going to have to play on G. And so if you take away pitches and just focus on rhythm, you can add anyone you want to within a camp. They can have no experience or little experience and still benefit so much from rhythm, because they're clapping and counting and using their ears. So rhythm is probably one of my favorite things, and you can explore meter, time signatures, note values, and sight reading. And I feel like bucket drumming is probably one of the best ways to explore rhythm. And I'm a big fan of tennis balls, and I talk a lot about those in different ways, but just bouncing a tennis ball to a beat is one way to get students feeling that beat, and especially where the downbeat is. So I could go into detail about that. I love tennis balls for so many reasons. And then, of course, creativity. You know that I stand on a soapbox of creativity. And one of the first things I want my students to know are their chords. And if they know their chords, they can start improvising. And then they can read from lead sheets. And then they can read from chord charts. And eventually that turns into them being able to compose. And so there's so many things within just creativity that you could focus on. In the past, I've done like invention camps. And I should write one of those, because I just had so much fun with that. But, don't hold back with narrowing down your scope like chords, and then seeing where it can take a camp as well. And then indoor teaching tools. Yes, you're going to want some teaching tools. Now, I kind of go bananas because I have years and years of teaching tools. So if you don't think you have to get all of these. Number one, sometimes I really like to blow things up and make things jumbo. And so when Bradley and Sowash and I were doing our 88 Creative Keys workshop, I made these big boxes with letters, and we use those for 12-bar blues. You name it. We were spelling scales, all those kind of things with big boxes. And then I'm a huge fan of boom whackers. Oh my goodness, you can do so many things with those. And if you go to YouTube, you're going to find all kinds of ways to use boom whackers where students have to read and then play the correct boom whacker at the same time, or at the correct time. And so they're tracking, they're reading. So I think it's just a brilliant way for students to be engaged with reading and music concepts, but they're not playing the keyboard necessarily. And yes, I love to repurpose household items. If you've hung around me at all, you know I'm a big fan of that. And there's plenty of apps that you can use for your indoor teaching as well. I'm not going to go into detail about those, but those are all at your hands, so to speak. And then, because it's summer, it's fun to be outdoors. Now, usually we have nice weather here in Colorado, so I can take people outdoors. And that's when I start dreaming up weird relays and races. I try and make it as active as possible. I think this guy has to hop on one foot with a ring around one foot, and he's spelling a scale with little alphabet cards, and just whatever you can dream up. But again, there's some kind of race, and there's some kind of competition. And if you dare, you can even do something with water. I had these campers, I had them fill their own water balloons at home, which I high-fived myself on that one because I hate filling water balloons. But then we wrote numbers 1 through 8 on them. And then I had these buckets labeled major and minor or perfect. And so one person was throwing water balloons and the other people were trying to catch the water balloon in the correct bucket. So if someone threw a 6, then they had to find that major and minor bucket and make sure that they caught that water balloon in that bucket instead, because an interval of a 6 is not a perfect interval. It's a major or a minor. So just crazy ways to reinforce those concepts that you wish they would remember, but they don't always do that. So that's one way to help them. And then I think moving in a group, there's just safety in numbers. When you're just with another student, just one student, sometimes it's a little hard or uncomfortable for them or for you. But when you've got a group of people, it just makes it more fun. And usually what I do is I provide an object for them to move, like they are holding paper plates. So they're moving something. And so they feel less vulnerable and less insecure if I'm just asking them to move their body or something like that. And I feel like movement can serve as a brain break if they have been doing really hard work and it's time to just have fun. Movement is great. And then also an important thing is having actions or movements that have your students move across their midline. And I'm not going to go into detail why that's so important, but there are connections that are made in the brain. And if your students have a hard time doing that, that is information for you that, oh, that could explain why. And when you're back at the piano, you will have more information about that student if you see how they move. And now you don't have to like point them out and say anything to them during a camp, but it's just information for you to glean as you continue to teach that student. And then stations. Now, this is probably one of my things to do is to reinforce a concept like scale spelling or something like that at different stations, and then students just rotate between those. And that way it shows me, first of all, there's individual attention, like one's at the piano, so I'll spend a little time at that with that one at the piano while the others are working on another task. It's a little bit more quiet. Instead of, the whole group in action the whole time. And it can just reinforce different learning modes by having them do different activities, but reviewing the same concept. And another word for stations would be center. And then I'm really not a crafty person, but I kind of like to dream up things during a camp that the students can create. Usually it's from household items because that is who I like to be. And so I've had people make drums out of, I don't know, empty containers. Those are actually steel brushes from floral, little wire. I don't know. That took a long time. I don't know if I would recommend that, but it sure was fun. Colored duct tape is wonderful for decorating things. And then, I made these little practice counters recently. They're little practice caterpillars is what I call them. That one's named Priscilla. I just think she's beautiful. But basically they're just, every time they practice, they move a bead one way, or every time they play something perfectly, they move a bead one way. But if you make them during a summer camp, then they can use them for the year as well. And then snack time. Food is very important. There needs to be food. Now, Dorla has a nice way of, if you want food, but you don't want to provide it themselves, then you just take your own lunch, which works really well too, or take your own snack. I like to offer snacks because then I always like to dream up, what am I going to surprise them with that day? And I have introduced students to chicken and a biscuit crackers. Apparently they hadn't heard of those before. So it's always fun to show them some new food, but food does matter, and they get hungry. I serve water, and I use my mason jars, and then I bought these lids from Amazon quite a while ago, but they're washable in the dishwasher, and so I just reuse those over and over. So that's a nice way to save on paper and all that kind of stuff. I still have paper plates because I have lots of paper plates, so I just keep using those during camp. And then I usually like to use lunchtime as a time to review. They are playing a game of Jenga where I've written different symbols or different rhythm patterns, and then as they take out, or they'll stack the Jenga blocks and then take them out, they have to answer the question. One has an FAC, so I'd say, well, what is that chord? That's an F major chord. And then one rule that I have fun with is that you may talk with your mouth full. So, and we eat in my garage. So then if things get messy, it's not too bad. So that's one of the things that I like to do. I don't do everything in my studio. And so let's just talk about reality now, because I've just thrown out a lot of wonderful ideas like, oh, that looks like so much fun. Okay, but let's talk, what does it really mean? It means planning. And it means that you're going to set things up. You have to be thinking ahead, and it means pacing. In my camp that I just released in my How to Play Piano in a Band, I have a minute by minute playbook. What I did every single minute. When I was looking back, I was kind of surprised, but that's how many things that I did. I did a lot of things. And if you let things fall apart, the classroom is going to fall apart. The kids will fall apart. So it's important that you know what you're doing and you've got your tools ready to go. You are going to have to clean up after every day. And this all takes energy. And then you have to talk the parents into this, which we are going to talk about. Dorla is going to talk you through this. And then you have to think about tuition. So here is my tuition policy. First of all, I require my students to take lessons during the summer. And so if I want to offer camps, this is how I go about it. Let's say I want everyone to take 4 one-hour lessons, and let's say I charge $50. So I would want $200 from my piano family, our piano student, for the summer. And then I could say, but there's another option. You could take 4 2-hour camps. Let's see. So there'd be 4 camps, 4 days of camp for 2 hours, and that would still be $50. So it's the same price, but they're getting twice as much time with me. And that's an excellent way to sell it. And actually you are making good money because you're probably going to have 4 students in those 2 hours. So that's how I make it attractive. And that's how I make it so that parents are willing to sign up for those camps. And then there are the logistics. And that is where Dorla is going to take us with the amazing, and I don't use that word very much anymore because I think it's overused, but she has an amazing handbook that you're going to be so thankful for. So those are my slides, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions for about 5 minutes or so before I pass it along to Dorla. So any questions? Yes, Dorla.
Leila, there's 2 questions in the chat. So if you want to answer those first, one is from Lee, and she has a lot of questions. And then after that, there's one from Jennifer.
Okay, so Lee, how many days, hours do you meet per camp? Well, I have gone back and forth, but I am now a fan of 4 days of camp for 2 hours. So you just saw what I had there, 4 to 5. And generally I don't like to teach on Fridays. So that's how I came to the number of 4. And I'd love to have 4 right in a row, but I have found that that's really hard. And so once I know that I have a group of 4 that are going to work really well within a camp, then I will talk with those four families, and then we will decide together what those 4 times are going to be. Now that is a little bit of brain power and time that goes into that planning, but generally that's how I go about scheduling that. And I've done 1-hour camps. They go by way too fast. I've done 1 hour and 15, again, too fast. We hardly have time to get eating, and then it's time to go already. So 2 hours is my sweet spot. If you're thinking that's too long, then I would try 1.5 hours. I think you're going to find that 1 hour is just going to feel rushed, unless you have younger kids, and a lot of my camps are more geared towards late elementary. And so it really depends on the student. And Dorla, you may be able to answer that question too, on how long to have camps. A camp day last. And then how do you find a time that? Yes. So finding a time. I have done a Google sheet before where I say, hey, when are you available? I've done that. That took a lot of my time to sift through that information. I have a smaller studio now. And so it was pretty much, okay, I think you 4 would work well in a group. You've agreed you want to be in a group. Let's find 4 times that we can meet during the summer. And so those aren't necessarily all within the same week. Maybe they're within 2 weeks of each other, 2 days in 1 week, 2 days in another. So it can get a little messy. The bigger the studio that you have, or the more flexible camp that you have, the easier it is for you to plug students into that camp. So keep that in mind. Let's see. Are there any resources for teaching young children about music in general for a summer group camp? Let me think about that. How do you require students to take lessons during the summer? Okay, yes. So if they want to save their spot for the fall, they have to take lessons during the summer. That is my prerequisite. That's my requirement. And I also have a deposit that everyone has to pay in May in order to secure their spots for the fall. So I've got 2 things that they have to do. First of all, they have to pay a deposit, and that is a book, technology, performance fee type thing. And they pay that to me in May. That's above and beyond their tuition. So they pay that in May to guarantee their spot in the fall, and they have to take a certain amount of lessons during the summer. So that's how I get people to sign up for my camps and for my summer lessons. So that's the answer. Let's see. Do you have a time of day like, oh yeah, well, I'd love everything done in the morning, but that just doesn't always happen. There's swim lessons, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it really depends on the student availability. So I think you have to be open to that, and be willing to be flexible. I don't want to teach late into the night in the summers. That's kind of one thing I want to avoid, because that's what I do during the rest of the year. So as much as possible, I want to be done like at 5 o'clock or something like that. So I just kind of give myself those boundaries, and usually people can work within those. Anything else that I'm missing, Dorla?
To answer the question about the resources for young children,
Yes.
in the summer camp headquarters, there's the Under the Sea piano camp that is for children ages 4 to 7. And then there's musical STEM that now includes ages 4 all the way to teenagers. And then there's Pura Vida that has one that is specifically for age 4 to 7 also. And then there's another question here. Have you ever had to put children? Do you see it from Trudy? And there's another one from Kathy.
You ever had to put children together in camp that are at very different levels? For instance, if you have yes, I do. And Dorla, you can talk about that as well. I just did a summer camp on how to play piano in a band. And I had a group of 3 siblings and a group of 2 siblings. So they were all friends, but they were all at different levels. And some of them were older beginners. Some of them were older and intermediate level. And then one in particular, 2 in particular were quite a bit younger. But I think the key is to, that idea of divide and conquer and giving things in small bits. Okay, can you play this part of the melody? Can you play the right hand? Yes. Okay. So for those who are ready for the right hand, can you add the left hand? And okay, yes, you can do both. Okay, who would like to just play the right hand? Those kind of things. I feel like if you give students autonomy and choices on what they prefer to do, it works really well because you can always layer up for those students that are ready for more, and you can keep it simple for those students who are not. Dorla, do you have anything to add to that?
Yes, I was gonna just mention that the piano camps that are in the summer camp headquarters, the same ones that I just mentioned, all have music included for multi-level, from beginner, no 0, all the way up to early intermediate. So that's a fun thing to do always, to mix them. There's 2 more questions, Leila.
Yes, do we have time?
Yeah.
I do on my 15 minutes. I don't know. Were you timing me? Okay. Yes. You know what? If I had the brain space, I'm reserving this summer for a big project that I just need to shut everything down and not do anything. But Kathy, to your question, I would love to do a summer camp and Dorla, you're going to talk about this. You have some great ideas for adults for summer. I would love to do one, some kind of thing where, it's cocktails and canvas or something like that. But how do you do that on the piano? I don't know. I'm thinking about it. So if any of you have great ideas, I think Andrea West has even done something like that before with her adults. But I would say, if you're going to do something for adults, again, listing the takeaways, and maybe it's, being able to play some chords so that they can sing something, something like that. It's got to be attainable and it's got to be small enough, but beefy enough so that they're happy with what they take away from. All right. Any other questions, or shall I pass it along to you, Dorla?
Well, Julia has a question. Do you do all the lesson camp days in 1 week, or do you spread it out over a couple of weeks?
Yeah. Usually I would love to do it all in 1 week. That would be my dream come true. That does not happen. Usually it's spread over a couple of weeks. Last summer, it kind of went crazy, and I don't know. There were some things that didn't work out so well with certain families. And so, yes, we made it all happen. But generally, I like to have it in the span of a month if possible. And it just really depends on how many students that you have and how flexible you are. And it was really important for me to have this band camp with these 5 students. So I did everything I could to make sure that it happened, because I wanted to do this band camp, and they wanted it really badly too. So, and then I had 5 in my band camp group, and that was because it was siblings. I 4. I've got a round table with 4 chairs. 4 is perfect for me, but that's just, I'm not going to say no to a sibling. If I can accommodate a family and teach all 3 of their siblings at the same time for 2 hours, and mom can go do lunch or do errands or something, I will do that, and I will make it work, because I know as a parent, I would love that. So
there's one more question we skipped. Sorry, Michelle. Do you ever have an end of camp performance for parents?
Oh, I haven't made a big, huge deal of that. But last time when I did my band camp, then the parents came in because we worked really hard on reading from a chord chart, and we kind of did the divide and conquer, and we played it was a contemporary Christian tune, and the moms came in for the last 10 minutes and they went bananas. They took videos and they kept saying, we never did this when we were learning piano. So I do think that is impactful. So I would recommend it if at all possible, have even the last 10 minutes, parents show up, take a look at what we've been doing and what we accomplished. It doesn't have to be this big, huge show. To me, that feels stressful, and I don't want to hold another recital. That is not my goal. I know that some people do that, but I want them to know what they took away. And if parents can step in and, take a few minutes and see what they did accomplished, I think that's great. So Dorla, let's see what else.
There's no more questions right now.
Okay. Someone else gave me that request. It would be fun to hold a summer camp for music teachers to share and create music learning. Somebody asked me about holding a summer camps for teachers. So that's kind of what Bradley Sowash and I did in 88 Creative Keys. And like, Dorla, maybe we got to put that on our list of things to do.
All righty. Well, I'm going to go ahead and share the handbook. And so once you have this in your hands, it's going to answer a lot of your questions. One of the things that I want teachers to remember is that whatever you decide to do, it's going to be okay. And it's going to be your piano camp. Lila and I do things very, very differently. I want to do all my groups multi-level, and Lila does smaller groups. I do up to 10. And if I have more help, I'll do even more. But 10 is usually the max for me because of the space in my studio. So anyway, just remember, whatever you choose to do, I have to tell you, when I started piano camps over 20 years ago, my first piano camp at the university, I had a big lab at the university with 15 pianos, and I had 2 students that signed up. 2. I did not cancel. I did it anyway. And I learned from that. And so don't be discouraged thinking that your group has to be so big. It does not. You do what you need to do and learn from that. And then the next time you do it, you'll have experience. So here is the handbook. If you would like to create your own piano camp, here are the steps to follow, okay? When you registered for this webinar, many of you wanted to do it yourself. Well, but you were asking how. And oh, it's so much work. Yes, it's a lot of work. But if you have a lot of materials that you want to use, this is just some steps that you can follow. Here is what you can include if you want to create it yourself. And then here's a list of what's in the summer camp headquarters. The done for you camps that you can purchase. You just have to open the book, look at the list of materials, which is not a lot. It's usually stuff that you can do, that you already have in your studio. Then there's some DIY camps. And then for those of you that are strictly private piano teachers, let me tell you, I have used every single one of my camps as a theme for private lessons. So in the summer, I want to do something different. So I plan the same lesson plan for everybody. The only thing that changes is the music that they play that will be at their level. But last year when I did Pura Vida, Music and Life in Costa Rica, I, of course, made arrangements for the younger ones, the 4-year-olds. But then my teenagers that were playing above and beyond early intermediate level, I found music that was from a composer in Costa Rica that was at their level, and we used that. So our theme was the same for everybody in group lessons and private lessons, and that kept me having an easier time with lesson planning. Now, how much to charge? What Leela shared about making the pricing the same in the summer as the school year, I also do that. So if you want to do something differently and figure it out, here is a worksheet that I did not come up with. I have, my sister-in-law is a CPA, and she does this kind of thing every day with her clients. So she created this one for us, for you to figure out if it's going to be worth it or not for you to hold a piano camp. But what I do, actually, what I'm doing this year is I have one piano camp in June and one piano camp in July. And I have to give a shout out to Jennifer Fox for illuminating me to do it this way this year. 4 hours, 9 to 12. I mean, sorry, 9 to 1 o'clock. We're going to do our piano camp once in June. I divide the ages 5 to 7, and then I think I'm doing 7 to 12. And then my teenagers will be the assistants. So that's what I'll be doing. How do you organize your weeks in order to get to your piano camp? Here's a little timeline for you with suggestions of what you can do so you can get ready for that. Marketing, where do I get students? Confession, I use piano camps as retention. I don't do a lot of advertising. I have a little bit of new students that will join at this time, not a lot, because I don't do advertising. Just because, just like Leela, I have a different focus for this summer. So really, I want to retain the students that I have. And if they enroll in the summer, then they know they have priority in choosing their time for the fall. So we have 3 pages of marketing tips. The most important thing about marketing is to do it consistently. Don't do it once. If you're going to do Facebook ads, don't do it for 3 days and say, oh, it didn't work. No, you're going to have to do it for about 3 weeks. And it's easy with Facebook because you can decide how you want people to contact you, and you can set the budget. You can decide, I only have $300 for ads, and you set that limit, and they will tell you, they will bill you every week. Once you get to a certain limit, and when your limit or your budget is finished, then they won't run your ads anymore. So it's not a difficult thing to do. Before you start your piano camp, we have emails for you to send to your current students or to new students on your waiting list. So you can set these up automatically. Feel free to copy these and to edit any way that you want. And we have 3 emails for you to get them to register. So email 1, email 2, email 3. Then after they enroll, here are 3 more emails for you to get them excited about joining piano camp and starting it. Locations. There were a lot of questions like, my home is too small, I don't know where to do it. So I started off, I think my 2nd year of doing piano camps right here in my home. I used my sunroom and I put all my little keyboards in there, and that's what I did. It was hard. It was so hard having people in my house. I had about 10 kids, but I did it. I don't have to do that anymore. I've done that enough times, but there are so many places that you can find out. I didn't put pricings on here because everybody's community will be different, but just know that a lot of these places will require you to have insurance for your studio, and then it will be a little bit more flexible. But there's 2 pages there of ideas on locations. What about scheduling? There are different ways to schedule. Leela mentioned her way. I shared with you already what I'm going to do, and this is what I have done in the past. Now, notice here there are also virtual options. If you want to do any of these camps virtually, it's not a problem. But there's 3 different ways that you can do it: blocked hours, split hours, or a weekly club. In person, these weekly schedule options work really well also. Then should you have a small or a large group? So depending on your location or your energy level or the crowd that you want to be surrounded with, here are your pros and cons, and you make your own decision. Remember, whatever you decide, that's going to be the right choice for you. When is the best date? Okay, that's going to be depending on your community. So what I like to tell everyone is I like to find what my dates are first. I know Leela does it a little differently, but I choose when I want to teach and what do I have going on in the summer, and then I choose my dates, and then I offer it to the parents. You can do it either way, but here are different ideas of how you can choose the best date for your community. Virtual camps, how to do it. I give you several ideas here. Preparing a camp box, delivering it, choosing a platform. There's 8 different ways that you can get ready to offer a virtual music camp. Adult students. The most important thing about the adult students is don't call it a piano camp. So I give you their 10 possible names. I didn't include the wine, Leela, because I don't want to offend him. But I know, so I remember one teacher was doing like muffins and wine, something like that for her adult students. So, you know, the activities you're going to do or the material, the curriculum can be the same. But you're not going to sit on the floor and sing with them. You know, you're going to do something different. But the music that you play and the concepts that you're going to teach are going to be the same. So after piano camp, what do you do? Well, if you're doing it for retention, you already know what to do because you already have those students in your studio. But it's still good to send a recap email and communicate with the parents what they did so that you can keep that excitement going, because next year you might want to do piano camp again. So for new students, then I give you also ideas of what to do. Just don't let it fall flat. Keep communicating with them until you know why they are not coming back. There's one of them says, I can't remember what page it's on, but it says, send a survey and ask, why did you not enroll? Because knowing why they didn't will help you know how to plan better, so you know how to deal with that scenario again. And then at the end, oh, my pages are stuck. Hold on. There we go. Here's just a repetition of what is available to you in the summer camp headquarters. This is these are all hosted on Leela's website. And then we have the DIY and then the done for you. And there's many more that you didn't list on here, Leela, that you have in the summer camp headquarters. So I would encourage everyone to look through that and look at the sample pages. Some of them have videos for you to have an idea of what goes on in each one of those resources. And that's it for the handbook.
So, okay, there's no questions for you, Dorla. There's just awesome. Wow. Just wow. That's what I said too. When Dorla unveiled this handbook, I'm like, this is cool. And I just need to reiterate too, is that seeing how other people do it, you know, grabbing a camp from Dorla and seeing what she does and how she plans it, even if you don't use the same exact content, you learn from someone who's done it already. You can just, you know, transfer so much information to your own experience.
Yes, definitely. That's how I learned how to do piano camp, you know. It wasn't an idea that just fell from heaven for me. I learned by watching other teachers and using other curriculums and then tailoring it to work for my audience.
All right, so the questions are, let's see. Dorla, do you record camps to get ideas of how you do this?
Do I what? Record your camp?
Record, yes. Do you record yourself teaching or?
I don't. Oh, that's stressful. However,
it's very painful too when you have to watch it. Oh
yes. So what I do is I write in the curriculum exactly everything that I do, just like Leela does for her piano, is it the band, how to play in a band?
Yeah.
So all of my piano camps are done for you. And there's a lesson plan for every single day of the camp. And I give you additional materials to do. And there's links to the videos that you'll share with the students. There's links for the playlist with the music that you'll sing with your little ones. The music score that you will have for your students. Of course, my scores are all multi-level. It is included in the piano camp, so you just have to print it and decide who's going to play what. But everything is just there step by step. But no, not me on a video.
I really do like to take videos of what's happening in my camps. And so I do have I'll add that to it too. I have a YouTube playlist. I think it's called like Clever Tools for Summer Camp or something. So you're just going to see things in action, just because it is helpful to say, like, what do you do with boom whackers or, you know, whatever. So I'll include that. People are asking where they can get their hands on that handout. So that's going to be coming in an email that will follow up with the replay of this as well. But yes, it's the handbook is golden. It's gold. So it's fantastic information. Wish I would have had it long ago. I'm trying to see any other questions.
I want to mention, so I'm going to talk about the musical STEM piano camp. That one involves music and experiments and math, and it includes the worksheets you need, coloring pages for the little kids. But there's a video of each experiment. Well, no, not each experiment. There's a video of the main experiment for each lesson. And then there's additional experiments that you can figure out on your own. And usually there's a link to someone else doing it on YouTube. But both of us always give a lot of examples where if we're not doing it ourselves with our students, you can see a video of somebody else doing it.
Let's see, what else do we
have? Leela, there's a question for you about your scheduling.
Okay. And yes, anything turned into 2-day camp. So you think about that if you have something that might turn into a 2-day camp. Okay. Please explain again about your scheduling. I teach during the summer. So if I have piano camps, the student may not be participating. Let's have camp and teach. So what I do, yes, it made it sound like I will teach anytime. No, I set my schedule of when I'm going to teach and when I'm going to be away. And so I will share those weeks with my students. These are when I am teaching. When are you not available? Maybe is what I've asked before, but more when are you available or doing what time? And usually I will email just the people that I know will work into the group that I want. So then I'm not dealing with everybody all at once. So that's how I get the information. And then, you know, I took a thread of emails, but then we finally locked in 4 different days that worked. So that's how I do that. And then let's see, during the piano camp.
Well, let me,
finish. And then what I do for summer lessons in my music staff, it's easy to create drop-in lessons. So anyone who wants to take private lessons during the summer, they log into their student portal and then they select the times that I have available for their private lessons. So I am not scheduling those, which is amazing. So the scheduling that I did for group, yes, that's a kind of not so much fun, but it's really great during the summer to have that drop-in sign up. Because then parents can, oh, wait, that's not going to work. I don't get an email. I just see that they have just unplugged themselves from a date and moved to another one. So that works like a charm for that. Let's see.
Also, let me just add to what you just said, Leela. I would not recommend that you do your private lessons and your piano camp on the same day. So what I'm doing, I do have weekly lessons this summer. Tuesdays and Wednesdays only is the only day that I'm teaching my group lessons, my weekly lessons. And I think I have 2 private students, but that happens every week on Tuesday and Wednesday. Then on Thursday, one Thursday in June for ages 5 to 7, I will have piano camp. A different Thursday in June will be for students 7 to 12. And I repeat the same thing in July. So when I'm done with my piano camp on Thursday, that's the only thing I did, and I can take a break before I have to clean the studio up.
And that is wise. Yes, if I've got a camp, maybe I'll have a camp in the morning, teach in the afternoon. I'm not always so happy with myself that I'm teaching in the afternoon, but that's how I can control my schedule, is because I control the drop-in lessons. And so that has been a game changer for me, with that ability for students to log in and choose a time. But yes, you got to guard yourself and protect. You got to buffer before and after camp, because you need to decompress. maybe we're talking them out of it now, but it's so much fun. But yes, they fuel you, but then all of a sudden they leave and you're like, whoa, what all happened? And what I'm understanding, Dorla, is that you're just doing one day camp. It's that long and then they're done, right? It's one and done. Okay.
So my little ones who come for 30 or 45 minutes once a week right now, I scheduled a 3-hour one-day camp, and they can enroll in that and just come once in July. And I'm going to charge them the same that I do for their monthly. And then in July, let's say they did a piano camp in June. Then in July, maybe they want to come every week. They can do that, as long as it adds up to another 3 hours, and I won't charge them extra. It will just keep going on their monthly. So they can mix and match, but it's a schedule that I chose, and so they can just go into my music staff and plug their name in. I also let my parents just text me and tell me what they prefer, and I'll put their name in. Sometimes that's easier than trying to explain by email what the process is. This week also is my last week of teaching. So parents are joining my group lessons. And so at the end of the group lesson, I'm telling them how they can schedule, and I have it all on paper so they can write their name in, and then I can do the rest of the work for them. So just trying to make it easy for them to say, oh, but I didn't know we were doing this.
Yes, you did.
And
someone was asking about my music staff. I just put a link in there, but that's what I use for my scheduling right now. And the drop-in, being able to sign up for a lesson, has been golden. Yeah.
So Amy, music camps and private lesson. So I let my students decide, because I know they have travel plans, but as long as it adds up to the same amount of hours. So I teach for 8 weeks in the summer. So if you normally do 60-minute lessons, then there's 8 hours that you're paying for in June and July. So yes, you can mix and match. You can come to, 4 private lessons and do 1 piano camp, and that would be fine.
Mhm. And I have a mix. Some will take a camp and still take advantage of some drop-in lessons. I would say my summer is much more a la carte. You are banking on a certain amount of hours from your students, where I am definitely, I want a certain amount of hours per student, but it's less than my normal teaching load during the fall and winter months.
Trudy, did we complete our
Oh, yes.
did we answer all of your questions? I feel like, because you're saying that I teach during the summer, so if I have piano camps, the students that may not be participating may have to have their lessons rescheduled depending on the time of the camp. So Trudy, this is why I don't have it on the same day. So that answers your question. Yeah, that's why I teach my regular weekly lessons on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then my piano camps are only on Thursday. So they have that ability to mix and match.
Mhm.
I believe that we still have people coming in, Leela, but
I
I don't know if there's any other.
Maybe that they thought it was 11 o'clock their time. Yes, that could be part of the problem too. I know. So, man, okay, have we covered? Oh, a 2-day camp. Could you imagine?
Yes.
Yeah, what? Go ahead.
Well, essentially what I'm doing is a 2-day camp. I'm just having one in June and one in July. And here's what I do. I just pick a theme and then I divide it. So if I would, let's say if I'm going to use Flip the Lid, which is a piano camp about learning of how the grand piano works, I would just choose 2 days, 2 of the themes. I think there's 5 themes in there that can be extended. You can choose one. There's so much information in there that you can extend it in 2 days, depending on how long your piano camp is. I don't remember who asked that, but yes, you can shorten it. You'll just have to look at the curriculum and see, depending on the hours that you are using for piano camp, then decide how many snacks, how many bathroom breaks do I need, how many fun activities do I need to do, and then how many activities from the curriculum can I use?
And, Flip the Lid, my students always want to dig into my grand piano upstairs. I'm like, okay, yeah, I know, it's cool. Yeah, that's how it works. Let's go.
Let's go.
So it's a really neat idea to just let's dive in and see what happens. And then, oh man, it's going to get them wanting to play because they want to see the hammers going up. So yeah, that's a neat theme.
And Andrea West made the drawings, the designs for the different parts of the grand piano that you get to talk about. So the older kids get to label them really, but the younger kids can color them. And then there's activities to do inside the piano. You get to do your own prepared piano if you're not too scared. And so there's different things, you have things you can eliminate and things you can do more of to make it work for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I see lots of thank yous. That's nice. Thank you for coming.
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, Leela and I like to talk a lot about different things that we do in our studio, and we are well, I'm so happy to be able to share with you because I always get a lot of questions about piano camp, and I get this feeling of fear. You have no idea. We had over 200 registrations, and there were so many talking about fear of doing this. But you shouldn't be fearful. If you just have 2 or 3 students, you can still do it, and it's going to work out. And you just, get your feet wet, and maybe next year you'll do something a little bigger. But it doesn't have to be a big production.
And thank you for reminding me too. Like I said, I wanted to do that how to play piano in a band camp. So I, just told my parents, look, this is important to me, but I also think it's important to the students. But I definitely think take a subset of your really loyal parents and families who are like, I will do anything Miss Leela tells me to, just sign me up. Those are the people to start with right now, because they're going to give you the positive energy that, yes, you can do this and this is going to be fun. The other thing is that you have to be on board. If you have any doubt whatsoever, if this is going to work, that will trickle through your communication. And so you have to be on board and excited. And if you are happy about it, you will sell it to your parents. And I think it's a mindset, but also if you have those takeaways listed, in fact, in my Bandcamp, that's what I list is my takeaways. For each day, I have specific takeaways. And that was very important to me that I follow those. But once you have those set, once you do that initial really hard work at the beginning, then things just start fitting together. Like, okay, they have to learn about a C major scale. Okay, how many different things can we do with a C major scale during that time? So that will really help you once you set your outline in stone.
2 more comments. Teresa wants to know more about multi-level in group piano. So contact me, Dorla@MissDorla.com, or in the Facebook group, or in one of the emails that we send. Just find me, because I can talk a lot about that too. And then Lee says, is it too late to pull off doing camps this summer? No. Today is May 11. You have 30 days to get ready. And I gave in the handbook, you have a timeline there for 40, I think it's a 4-week prep of how to get ready. You can do it. I believe in you. How do you deal with students who have trouble listening to instructions and can be distracting? Oh.
I love that. Oh, yes.
Yeah. Yes. So, yes. So you need to think about it before. You might have to have someone else helping you, depending how big your class is. But what I like to do is I like to have students, those rowdy students, really close to me at all times. And then my hand is always on them somewhere. Keep them calm beside me. I have quite a few of those, quite a few interrupters. And that's what I do. I just with kindness and make them feel like they belong. And little by little, they'll just mature and, but it's a difficult thing. And sometimes you do need to have help. So don't think that you have to do it all on your own. And by help, I mean another adult to be in the room to help with that.
And an idea for that, 2 things. First of all, Marie Lee will often hire a high school student to be her assistant, or high school students are looking for community service hours. And so ask one of your students to help. I just posted a link to 2 episodes from Emily McGree. We talk about neurodiversity and neurodiverse students, and she had some really good tips. And, I'm trying to put those into practice, but point out anything that someone is doing well. And the minute other people hear that they're getting, oh, wow, so-and-so, Miss Leela really likes so-and-so because she, or not likes, but Miss Leela just pointed out something good about someone, that can help start moving that and nudging that behavior in the right direction. Doing more group incentives like, oh, every time something gets done, put little beans in a jar, whatever. She did have some good things. She also she didn't call it a timeout corner. It was not a timeout corner, but it was a quiet corner. Sometimes kids just need to just reset. And so having a place where, what, do you want to just head over there just to calm down? Yes, whatever. It's not punitive. It is just helping them to kind of reset themselves. But she did have some really good tips because she also teaches in groups a lot.
Amy, if this is a preschooler, you need to have a lot of activities where they are still for 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes. If you do more than that, it's going to fall apart. A lot of freeze games, a lot of things where they're very interactive and there's movement. for the older kids, then, the things that I mentioned before. But with your little kids, always plan to be in doing something, changing activities, so that when you get to the piano, because, well, you don't have to do piano in your music camp. But what I say is my piano camps that are for the younger kids, what I do is the piano is already prepared with whatever keys that I want them to play. They're already marked, so that when they walk up to the piano, it's ready, and then we can play and then just move away. So just being prepared ahead of time with everything also will help, depending on the age of the student.
There is one thing, Dorla, and I'd love to hear your comments on this too. It seems like when parents drop off students and hang around and talk, that's when things go bananas. And so I would say, if you've got littles, just make it very clear to parents that I can't converse with you. Please drop your child off or whatever. Have some kind of routine, but then that's it. And then have an activity right away. There's one other thing that I did. I don't have this posted anywhere, but when I was teaching at DU, I would have these kids come in. And so I just, at the beginning of each class, we would just go through the rules, and I had little signs, but yes, follow these signs, please. And for some reason, they cracked up when I said, be kind to fellow pianists and your teachers and respect their space. They liked the word fellow for some reason. They just thought that was fun. But I just went through these with them and we just had fun. Okay, what does this mean? Only play when we say, so those kind of things, just giving those gentle rules from the beginning and reviewing them every time. Maybe I'll add this in because it did help me, and it helped me because of like, what are my rules? Sometimes we need to have those housekeeping rules, and I'm so eager to just jump in and do something, but it is important to lay out the land of the
I need a copy of that too. Maybe we can add that to the handbook, because I need that. Just having the pictures on the wall. Oh yeah, Leila, I love it. I love it.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'll add that in because it really did help me, because then I could go, oh, what's the rule? And the deal is, you don't want to be the bad guy, right? You want, okay, look the rules, just follow the rules, right? And that can help a lot as well. Yes, and use positive. Yes, positive as much as possible. It's so easy to say, please stop. But what we need to do is flip it and say, oh, do that again. Oh, I loved that behavior right there, whatever they did. Look at how so-and-so is whatever. And the more you can point out the good, then the other bad behavior will fade, hopefully. I mean, there are those students, Dorla. There's always going to be those students.
I have a few, and they're all in the same class.
I'm sorry. I know. It's hard. It's very hard.
All righty.
Okay.
This is great. Thank you for all your comments.
Yes.
And I wish you the best, don't we, Leila?
Yes, we do. Yes.
Awesome. Yes.
I know. And we're not leaving you behind saying, okay, good luck, see you later. So please stay in touch, let us know what kind of questions you might have. And my camps, some of them are definitely camps. Others of them are like my blues resource. I could see that turn into a camp. I'm more of a private teacher in some ways, but I feel like things, because if you're a do-it-yourselfer, you could easily tweak things to make it work. So if you're looking for a theme, I probably have more theme ideas for you. Dorla has, and man, it's just all there for you. So, and just such neat.
And also, if you are doing a smaller group, and you think, I have all these games that I subscribe to and all these ideas that I have, use them. If you're not sure how to create a curriculum, then use one of the ones that we've already done for you and learn from there, and just substitute. Don't buy other stuff. Just substitute and say, oh, this will work here.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I think we've covered it all. Thank you all so much for your lovely comments. And yes, once we get off, we can start working on sending out this replay and that handbook, which I think you're all going to be interested in getting. That will come in your inbox soon. And so look for that. And then, yes, please stay in touch.
All righty. Bye-bye, everyone. Thanks for coming.
Bye.